at 7:02 p.m. Can we do a roll call?
Trustee Gutter. President. Trustee Davis.
Here.
Here.
President Pata. Here. President Walker.
Here. The board has nothing to report out of closed session. We have an agenda. I understand there are changes.
Yes, we'd like to move item 13A1 on the consent agenda to the action agenda. It'll be 16A5.
Shall we approve that change?
So move.
Second.
All in favor of changing the agenda as Ms. Presta suggested?
Aye.
Aye.
We will change the agenda. In that fashion, thank you. We have minutes from past meetings.
Move to approve all the minutes for April 28th, May 11th, and May 12th.
Second.
All in favor of approving minutes from April 28th, May 11th, and May 12th?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 11A, the board report. Would anyone like to start?
I will start.
Thank you.
Since the last meeting, one of the funnest things I've done is attend a couple of the graduations that happened, and it was fabulous. First, I went to Thornton, and then I went to the middle college. Middle college didn't even exist when I was in school, so I was very excited to be there. And then I went to Jefferson High School, so it was just a great time, and just to be around people that were so happy and all their hard work had paid off for this 2-hour ceremony, and it was loud, and someone did the worm on the stage. So yeah, it was a great time. So I'm really excited for those students and what's to come for them and the families. So thank you.
Yeah, I think a lot of us were doing a lot of those graduations. I know I was able to get to a couple, and I think that's probably the best part of our school year is being able to see the graduates out there and smiling and enjoying themselves and celebrating with their families. But also, huge shout out to all the schools for really making those graduations special for those students, and just allowing us to be a part of that is really cool, and definitely, something that fills your cup for sure. So glad to be able to take part of that.
Yep, I think I concur. I did 4 graduations: Thornton, Bridge Program, Middle College, and Westmore. And it's always fun to be out there celebrating all of our students. It's always fun to see how the kids are decorated. There were a couple of young women at the Westmore graduation wearing leis from Crumble Cookies, which was quite amusing when they had pink boxes wrapped around themselves. Quite creative. And then the handful of students that came up with their selfie sticks and either recorded while walking up on stage because they're, wannabe influencers, or doing selfies with everybody on stage. It was pretty fun. So yeah, all that to say it is one of my favorite times of year by far.
So I missed the last board meeting because I was in New York for my daughter's college graduation. So 4 years ago, she graduated from Jeff. And so I was able to see her graduate at Yankee Stadium and then at Radio City Music Hall. So it was, now she said, Mom, I have to be a grown up now. So, but she definitely, since Ms. Kelge, who is the ASB director at Jefferson, since she went to NYU, Carly said, I need you to give this gift to her, Ms. D. So she gave a little gift to me to give to Ms. D, as they call her, and I saw her at the Jefferson graduation. So it's pretty sweet. And I attended the Bridge Program graduation, kind of bittersweet, although we're hoping we can bring it back. The Jefferson graduation, it was really fantastic. It was fun to be there with Ms. Gutter. Um, her first big outdoor graduation. They're always really fun. And then 2 days in a row, I was at the adult education building for the adult school graduation. They just did such a great job turning the multi-use room into this beautiful, sparkling place. And the families were just so, the families there were just so proud. It was such a big moment for everybody. It's so beautiful. And President Walker gave a speech. And I have to say, he had me tearing up. You were incredible.
Thank you.
And you never forgot JUHSD in your speech and what we stand for and why we're proud of this program. You always brought it back into that, and because we support, all our students. But it was, you followed the mayor of Daly City, and I think he did okay, but you were fantastic. Yeah, I mean, you were fantastic. And it's always a big deal. And this is something I don't think you've embraced quite, but that it's important to appear as President Walker. It's important to families that the president of the board is here. So I know you jokingly, pose for us, but you gotta use that. It's important to the families, really, believe me. And I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
But then I'm going to say the best graduation is the adult transition program graduation. It is just so moving. Tony and I cried at the Bridge School graduation, Bridge program graduation, and I cried at this one too. Two of the students graduating were Megan Williams. I've known her since she was little in elementary school, and Tony Marie. She went to middle school with my daughter, so. It was just nice to reconnect with the families. I mean, I've seen them here, many over the last 4 years. And so just to see them graduating was very touching and very impactful for me. And I just want to thank our adult school program and our amazing special education program for putting everything into helping these students. And I just want to thank everyone who's made all these graduations impactful, and the maintenance crews. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. There's just a lot. So, and thank especially the schools and our administrators.
Thank you. So I was at a few graduations. I went to a comprehensive high school. I taught at a high school where you had to take an exam to get in. I've been the parent of 2 kids who've gone to comprehensive high schools. So it was kind of neat to go to a continuation school graduation, and just to see our families and how proud they are. I got to say a few words, which was nice. I went to the adult division graduation. I got to say a few words. I have advice following my second speech. 1 is to keep it short. I'm not sure I succeeded at that. And 2, if you're speaking and someone else is speaking, go first. And if you can't go first, you might want to contact that person to make sure they don't steal your themes. But that was really special. And then I went to Oceana's graduation, which was fantastic. And I got to see a young man I've known his whole life graduate. And I also, speaking of the role of president, I often joke in public about how powerful I am as the president of the school board. And really, I'm not that powerful because I can't do anything without 2 other votes. And because I'm only doing the job because the other people on the board had already done it. So One student after the ceremony just asked to shake my hand. And it's not because I did anything for her or because she knows me so well. She just wanted to shake the hand of the school board president. So I did it for that role, for everyone who's up here, everyone who works in this building, you know, everyone who works in all the school buildings. I was proud to do it. But you might have missed it live, but all of you got a good handshake after the Oceana graduation. I've said enough. How about the superintendent's report?
Thank you. I'm going to sound redundant because I too am going to talk about graduations. So yes, I went to all of the high schools, Thornton, Terra Nova, Jefferson, Westmore, Oceana, Middle College, and Bridge program. And I have to say, what I'm going to share is that my son graduated from Oceana, and I cried at, I think, all of the other graduations, and I didn't I was like solid at my son. So I was glad that I wasn't a blubbering fool at my son's graduation.
Did you have any support to keep you from crying at your son's graduation?
I did. I had people saying, don't cry. And we did a little handshake, and that was great. But it was, I also learned I've never had a child graduate from high school. So it is like I have a new perspective now around like what our kids are going through their senior year, but especially those last couple of months before they graduate. It's really hard. Like I just never really understood what our seniors were going through. And my kid is, you know, well-adjusted, good executive functioning skills, taking care of what he needed to take care of. And it was hard, very hard. And I know I don't always, you know, like I'm going to talk about student advisory interviews. Like I'm conducting business with student advisory up until the end. And yeah, it made me think about scheduling things maybe a little bit differently next year to leave some space for those seniors. But every graduation that I went to had something special about it. And they were all wonderful. I love that Rosie brought up the maintenance crews because I know that there was a beautification crew that Marcus had a whole crew going around to all of the different schools, kind of with a particular eye around graduations coming up. And we just want to do something a little extra places to make it look really nice. And it was noticeable. So thank you. I mentioned that we did student advisory interviews. So last week they weren't seniors. I had the continuing student advisory kids. I think I had about six kids on the panel, and we conducted the interviews, and yet again, we had more applicants than spots and of high caliber. Like really, it was very difficult for us to make the decision on who to move forward. There were so many kids that we said no to because we were sort of building a team that was like multi-generational, you know, like multi-age. It wasn't all seniors. We were taking a lot of things into account, but so many great students that were interested in being trustees. So we've got a really great crew for next year. And then the last thing I want to say is just had a nice time. I went really, really late because it was hard to get out of my office on that last day, but there was a gathering for Monica, Casey, and Ed Lopez and Carla Talkoff. So popped in there at the very end, and that was really nice. Last day of school, and this week has been, you think it's going to be all quiet, and you know, still we have filled our days. Work keeps happening. Thinking of next year. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. I want to add one more thing. I also went to the Terra Nova graduation, and I mention it now first so my son's schoolmates don't get angry at me, but second because I want to give a special shout out to Mr. BP, who was directing the band. And after about 15 rounds of pomp and circumstance, the energy flagged a little bit. And I can't imagine sitting down, playing a sousaphone, and having to play that song again. Your lips got to hurt. You got to be tired. It started to get a little windy. And I heard the energy flag a little bit. And I looked over my shoulder at the band, and Mr. BP is over there pointing at the band, being like, we got to do this. And I just want to give him credit for directing his buns off after 15 rounds of pomp and circumstance. And I think it's indicative of a lot of the trying that people did to pull off a graduation. Do we have an AFT Local 1481 report today? No. Miss Casey will never do another one. And I don't see our new presence here, but we'll have one for you soon. Item 12 is for information. Please check it out. 13 is the consent agenda.
Move to approve consent.
Can I have you move to approve the consent agenda as we modified it?
As amended.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor of approving the modified consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Okay.
Item 14 is public comment. Mr. Clerk.
We do have one public comment it is Pamela Farron. Please come up to the microphone. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Pamela Farron. I am with CSBA, the California School Board Association. I am your Public Affairs and Community Engagement Representative, also known as PACER. Also happy to say that I grew up in this area. I don't live here now, but I did grow up. I went to FDR for elementary school. I went to Fernando Rivera for middle school, and then fortunately went out of the district for high school, but my brother did attend Westmore and graduated from Westmore High School. So very happy to be back, and I spent a lot of time in the 80s and 90s over at Ceremony. Many hours when malls were the thing to do. And so I'm here today just to introduce myself. I've met some of you already at some of our conferences. Great to see you again. As you know, CSBA provides training, advocacy, a whole multitude of resources for you. And if you have any questions about our services, please contact me. I did leave my card up at the dais. wanted to discuss was our SOS for Student Achievement Initiative. This is something the CSBA has recently started in order to try to close the achievement gap. The goal with this really is not to put more work on the districts. We know that the districts are working hard to close these equity gaps, but actually focus on the state taking accountability. There are 4 bills that we are supporting. They have gone out of the Assembly and they're now going to the Senate. It's going to be an ongoing effort. What we're asking for at this point is a letter from the district, from the board, if they want to support the initiative, and also to pass a resolution if that is something that the district wants to support. So I did email a copy of a sample resolution, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, thank you for having me.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Item 15A1 is our special education program updates. Deputy Superintendent of Educational Services, Ms. Baca.
Good evening, President
Introduce.
Walker. Tonight, I would like to welcome our directors of special education who will be providing highlights about the program. I'd like to introduce Lee Medvedoff and Grace Ventura.
All right. Thank you so much, Corrine. And thank you to the Board of Trustees for inviting us to speak today. So as Deputy Superintendent Baca said, I'm Lee Medvedoff, Co-Director of Special Ed, and with me is Grace Ventura, my co-director. So I'm going to make sure I know how to do the clicker here. First time in this beautiful building here.
The down arrow goes forward.
The down arrow goes forward. Does it though?
It doesn't appear to be on though, does it? I don't.
It is now on and it's still not working.
Remember the movie?
Thank you so much, Oscar. Appreciate it. 1 second.
I might need to watch it so that I'm ready when I am.
right. And suddenly I'm less nervous, believe it or not. You know, everything that could go wrong already has so far. Um, so tonight we plan to start with some general information regarding enrollment trends. Then I'm going to hand it over to Grace to do a highlight of our therapeutic programs in our district. She's also going to talk about the continuum of placement options and where those programs fall into like the context of our local area. And then we're going to close out with reviewing our annual determination letter data. And then we'll have some time for questions. All right, so enrollment trends for students with IEPs. So this slide just kind of has a little overview of the types of programs that we have in our district. We have a mild to moderate support needs program. This is housed at all of our comprehensive schools and Thornton High School. This serves students who are pursuing a diploma through the traditional pathway. We say traditional pathway because for our extensive support needs students, there is now an alternative pathway to that same diploma with modifications. So extensive support needs, those are the programs that serve students who have needs in the area of daily living skills. They're working on modified curriculum, and now they can also pursue a diploma. They can also pursue a certificate of completion if a diploma doesn't make sense for them, and that's an IEP team decision. And then we also have our therapeutic programs housed at Terra Nova and Westmore High Schools. And you can kind of see a little bit about the number of students in each of these programs. If you want a sense of how many students are in the mild to moderate support needs program, you can kind of see on the slide, there's about 120 students in the extensive needs program, 20 students in the therapeutic program. The remaining students would be in the mild to moderate support needs program, with some students attending non-public schools or placements outside the district. So last time we were here in spring 2024, we had about 470 students with IEPs in the district, and today that number is 515. And the non-public school placements have been stable, but we are seeing an increase of students with IEPs at our comprehensive schools. And in particular, we're seeing an increase among students who benefit from an extensive support needs program. So a good way to look at this, and there's just some raw data there, but a good way to illustrate this is that currently in our adult transition program, you saw the graduation this last week, as you mentioned, Trustee Tejada. That program currently has 39 students. If every single student in grades 9 through 12 who's eligible for that program chooses to go, it would be 80 students within 4 years. So that's a sizable increase. I'm not exactly sure why there's an increase. I'd like to say, and this will be just my one flex of the night, maybe it's because we're doing such a good job that folks want to stay in this district and attend our schools. And it's not included in our slideshow, but I also want to say that there's also a positive trend with our staff. So we have maybe approximately a 95% retention rate this year, and we have about 120 folks in our department. So we're very proud of that. 100% retention among service providers, and that just means our programs are more stable year to year. Another reason why people want to stay with us. Yeah, will do. I won't flex on how I navigate slideshows, but you know. All right, handing it over to Grace.
Real quick, how many staff members did you say?
About 120.
Wow.
Thank you.
If you include paraprofessionals.
All right, thank you, Lee. All right, good evening, everyone. So I have the privilege to dive deep into our therapeutic programs. So this is our highlights. So to ground us what this means, our therapeutic programs are specifically designed to support our students who qualified for special education with a primary or secondary eligibility of emotional disability. Currently, just like what Lee said, we have currently about 20 to 21 students across these programs. So the core mission here is to ensure these students can pursue a traditional high school diploma, receiving core academic classes in a highly structured, self-contained, and highly supportive therapeutic settings. In every single of these classroom is a team effort. So we have staff by dedicated teacher, our paraprofessionals, a behavior technician, and also a licensed therapist. Okay. Currently, our district therapeutic programs are housed at 2 locations. So first, we have our program at Westmore High School, which has historically been known as MHE, or mentally enhanced program. I want to share that beginning this fall, we will be rolling out a new name for this program. It will be called the Westmore STEP program. We will be officially notifying our families about this name change soon as we roll out this new school year. And then our second program, which is housed at Terra Nova High School, we already adopted this school year the naming convention as the Terra Nova STEP program. This is formerly known as TDS. So to give you context of the branding of this STEP, STEP stands for Support, Trust, Empowerment, and Progress. The title that perfectly captures the therapeutic and academic mission of these programs that we hope to capture. So moving forward, so that numbers and operational updates is only half the story that we would like to tell. The time metrics of success is the human impact that we would like to share. Feedback from our families highlights these 3 core areas. First, the staff dedication. Parents have shared that our teachers and staff go truly above and beyond to secure student success. Second is on the individualized support. Families feel secure knowing that their child's specific IEP accommodations are respected and fully implemented. And finally, on communication and belonging, families feel that they are included, listened to, and supported whenever they reach out to any of their questions. So ultimately, these therapeutic programs allow our students to remain in their community, which is in our district, making progress toward a diploma alongside with their peers. And that's really our mission. All right. We have made significant strides in our program development over this past year to strengthen this umbrella of our therapeutic program. First, we hired our dedicated clinical supervisor. This is a licensed therapist overseeing both campus, ensuring the clinical consistency. We also established our formal leadership team, which consistent of our clinical supervisor, also includes our lead psychologist and our the 2 directors which review our student cases more routinely. Operationally, we also have improved our physical learning environments, including our strategic relocation of the Westmore program on this campus to a more optimal space. So we relocated of our Westmore program within that campus. We have instituted rigorous standing communication structures, which includes these standing team meetings. We have involved site meetings, monthly site meetings. We also have our classroom weekly meetings within our teams. Moving forward, we also in the process of developing our program handbook. We wanted to improve our tours and our referral process when we are doing our referral to our students to our therapeutic programs. And then finally, we would like to have to foster our district collaboration through unique experiences like camping trips and also unique curriculum developments for our students. All right. So moving on to section 3, we would like to look at this continuum of special education placement options. As a district, our guiding North Star and our legal mandate is to always consider and prioritize our least restrictive environment, or LRE, for every individual student. So looking at this very colorful graph here, special education is not a one-size-fits-all. It is a spectrum of care, as we see here. On the left side, we see of the continuum, we start with the least restrictive environment, which is a maximum interaction with peers in a general education classroom. From there, we move to a part-time specialized instruction via resource room or pull-out services. And that's where we see our mild, moderate support needs. And we also see next is our self-contained classrooms, which offer our designed classes and modified curriculum for students with similar needs. And then this is where our mild, moderate, and extensive support needs programs primarily also stays or live. Further down the continuum, we also we look at special schools, and finally at the far right, representing the most restrictive setting, we have the hospital and residential settings, which provide the full-time care and education for our severe medical or behavioral needs. So this continuum brings us to a critical discussion regarding our out-of-district placements. Historically, when a student therapeutic needs exceeded what a comprehensive campus could offer, like our campuses at Terra Nova, Oceana, Jefferson, and Westmore High School, the district utilized certified non-public school, or NPS, placements. However, we are really facing a challenging landscape. Nationally and regionally, certified non-public school programs that provide therapeutic services are actually decreasing in availability. Right now, Edgewood in San Francisco just closed in one of our non-public schools. Yes. So simultaneously, we are also seeing a trend where most parents are considering private schools. So, however, many of these options are not state certified and do not provide the necessary embedded therapeutic services our students require. So what does this mean for our district? What does this mean for JUHSD students? It means that more than ever before, our internal district therapeutic programs, our STEP programs, provide an absolutely vital, critical placement option. By investing heavily in our own staff, our supervisors, our therapeutic programs, our therapeutic environments, we aren't just adjusting to market scarcity. We are actively creating a superior localized environment where our students can thrive safely right here in their home environment, right here in our own district. And that's what we are talking about in their home district in our least restrictive setting. So thank you. And I will turn it over to section 4 for our annual data review for more numbers.
All right. So I've got the numbers here for you. So the annual determination letter, in case that's a new term for anyone, that's a letter that the California Department of Education sends to all local education agencies, and it's sort of like the report card for special education. There's various indicators and other data, some dashboard, California dashboard data that's incorporated. And then that's used to determine whether we're entering any kind of compliance monitoring. So, you know, things are actually moving in a good direction for JUHSD. In the past, we have been found to be disproportionate and significantly disproportionate. But of these 5 aspects of how we're evaluated, the only one that we are out of compliance for is our timelines. So just to kind of share a little bit more about what these terms mean, disproportionality is when there is a particular eligibility, such as specific learning disability or emotional disability, and we're finding that there is a disproportionate amount of students of a particular race or ethnicity who are found eligible for that particular disability. That would indicate that there's something going on in our system that shouldn't be. But we're not significantly disproportionate, and we're not disproportionate at this time, which is great. Timeline noncompliance. So by law, all IEPs have to be reopened for what's called an annual IEP within 364 days of the last meeting. So we would call an IEP late if it's held 365, 366 days or later. And so that has happened for us. Same with triennials. These are the 3-year evaluation reports. If those are held later than 3 years to the day, then that IEP would also be non-compliant as far as timelines. These are procedural errors that can become substantive if we go many weeks or months without updating goals or services, and then the student is not making progress. So here's just some definitions of these, of the possible tiers. We fall into level 2. There's a level 1, a level 3. Level 3 is the most significant. And the way that they determine this includes looking at performance targets and whether we failed to meet 3 or more, or if we've been newly identified as disproportionate. So we're not newly identified as disproportionate, but we have failed to meet 3 or more targets. So I'll jump over here. So these are some of the selection elements, and you can see how we're ranked. So California has a great new system sort of where they compare all of the districts to each other, and it's sort of like grading on a curve. Some districts have to be in the highest level of monitoring just by definition because we're being compared to each other. So you can see ELA achievement is an area of relative strength for the district. We're at the 7th, rank 7, which roughly equates to the 70th percentile among districts. For these other areas, we rank 2, 3, 2, 5, 3. You can see the numbers there. And if you add them all up, we're in about the 38th percentile of districts, according to these measures. You can see the ones that are in red are the ones where we want to see improvement. LRE, as Grace mentioned, least restrictive environment. This is an area that has continued to be a focus for us. We really want our students to be spending as much time as possible in the general education setting. And so that speaks to us compared to other districts, just not quite being as competitive in terms of inclusion. So what does this mean? So I'd say overall the trend is good, not being in significant disproportionality or disproportionality, but we also want to work on the timelines. We're in good company with the timeline noncompliance. Last year, Sequoia, South City, San Mateo, they were all also in noncompliance for timelines. So that's bigger than just JUHSD, this trend. And I think that could be any number of reasons. Districts having a difficult time retaining staff who are experienced or whatnot. But we can work with our SELPA. I want to shout out Mary Young and Lansanae Toure, who have been wonderful in supporting us. And they help us through a lot of the compliance tasks and make it a lot more approachable. Didn't mean to end on a downer with the data, but it's important for us to know where we can go from here. So thank you so much for listening to our presentation, and now we'll welcome any questions. But we'll slink away if that's what you...
Okay, well, thank you for your presentation. I really enjoyed it. I just have a couple of questions. Well, first, let me say what I really liked about it. I really like you bragging, and you should always brag on your team and the good work that you're doing and how it shows up in retaining your students and retaining your staff. It's very impressive, and I know it takes a lot to get to that point. Ms. Grace talked about the classroom environment, and she mentioned the people that were inside of the classroom to help support, make sure everything went well. Can you please tell me about the behavior technician? Who is that and what is that?
Hi.
Hi.
Yes, so that's actually a new role that we have added to our therapeutic program. So our behavior technician is actually our registered behavior technician who's also supervised with our BCBA, sorry, a lot of the acronyms. BCBA stands for our Board Certified Behavior Analyst. So our RBTs, or our registered behavior technician, also supports. It acts as to support the behaviors, the behavior management, the classroom. Since our therapeutic supports in the program, not only just for the mental health, but sometimes our students also exhibit some of the external behaviors, such as some of our students might need help with some of their behavior plans that they are working with, or some of the maybe some executive functioning goals that they need to support with their IEP goals. So that's why we also put the our RBTs in the classroom. Lee, would you like to add something else?
No.
No, but just in case there's an. So that's the right. So because the RBT also acts as one of like a wraparound service for the students.
Yes.
So we have the para who supports more of the academic support for our students, the licensed therapist for the counseling services, and then the behavior technicians to support for the behaviors for the students.
Yeah, to me, it seems like I really like that formula, because being at the juvenile hall, that person, just by having that behavior technician with the therapist, is like a bridge. You know, you can solve so many problems right there before they could even escalate where they would have to go to the juvenile hall. So I just really like that formula, working with the students, and then you also work with the families. So that's why you have so much great success, in my opinion. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the presentation, you guys. I was interested in a lot of it, actually, but I mean, yeah, it was interesting to see what the enrollment trends are going to be like moving forward, and kind of how you're starting to build up the program to kind of meet what those needs are going to be. And then also mentioning kind of how, I guess, we used to score, in a sense, before you kind of started, kind of this kind of rebranding and kind of building up of the program that you guys are doing now. And one of the things that I could speak of, just being at the current, or this past graduation for the adult transition program, one of the things I was thinking about as you guys were talking, is that you could listening to the graduates tell their stories about the time that they've spent in the program, and the time that they spent with the people in the program, and how much they're going to miss it, and how much they loved it, and all the cool things that they got to do while they were in our district with you guys. It speaks volumes of what you guys are doing just with that little part of it, and I see that trending in other directions too. I mean, and I know that scores are scores. I get that, and they're good. It's good to have data to, kind of build off of and stuff like that. But I mean, I think, just generally speaking, just from what I've seen with my own two eyes, and with you guys, just over the years of getting to know you guys a little bit better and watching what you guys do and how much you care about this stuff, I think we're in great hands, and I really appreciate all you guys' hard work on this, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how much better it gets. And I think it's exciting to see that we are going to have something here in our district that we can offer to these students, to these kids, to these adults that really need it, and especially when other places are closing down. So I just really appreciate all you guys' hard work on it, and it's cool to be a part of. Thank you.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions. First one, with the retention in staff, Is there something that you particularly attribute it to? I mean, I have my suspicions, but I'm curious to see what you have seen.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd kind of be speaking off the cuff here, but I would say obviously the staff housing has been a great recruitment tool. You know, there have been many conversations I've had with staff that, you know, are considering our district. They recognize that it's an expensive area. They might have to relocate. It maybe doesn't pay quite as high as the district down the street, but they like us. They want to make it work. And the staff housing kind of takes them over the line. I would say there's also just the positive momentum, you know, of just, are you coming back next year? Yes. Are you? Okay. I'm more likely to come back because my team is coming back, you know. Liking where you work, you know, is a big part of that is the fact that there's consistent staffing. You're not having to rebuild every year. And I think in this district, my hope is that staff feel empowered to make their programs their own and are invested in sort of the long term. And also our families and students are really wonderful to work with, just generally speaking. So I think that also keeps people coming back.
That's really great to hear. I mean, I think, I know we've been around long enough to remember the constant turnover and churn and special ed staff, and for you to say 95% retention is unbelievable. It's incredible to hear. So that's really great. And I love hearing what the two primary factors that you're discussing. So that's great. The other question is related to the therapeutic program, STEP program. I know that this year we had 21 students. What is our capacity between the two schools? Because if we're concerned about being able to place these students, you know, with a decline in NPS placements and being able to house them, what can we realistically expect to support? How many kids?
So we are also very conscious of the numbers that we're putting in both programs, because we know that it's a very high need students that we're placing. And so Lee and I are looking at those numbers. And so we're looking at about maybe the high numbers that we can place there is 13 students on each side.
13 each?
Yes.
Okay.
So if we're reaching on that numbers, we're constantly also looking of if we're getting to that number, you know, constantly also revisiting of maybe expanding later on. But of course, that's down the line. But always looking at projecting numbers in the next coming a year or two. And what's great that I think Lee and I have established that we didn't present it into our slideshow is that we now have a close relationship with our directors with San Mateo and Sequoia. So we actually have built relationship with them that we actually did some tours with them when we visited some of the other districts' mental health programs. We shared resources with their other mental health resources. And so, you know, so we're hoping that if we ever one day have to expand more of our therapeutic programs, that we will be more ready to do so.
Okay, that's right. And those students, when they do graduate, walk with all the regular students at the regular graduations?
Yes, and we actually have done that already.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, President Walker, when you went at Terra Nova, we actually have one of our STEP students who actually walk on the stage and actually got a reward in one of those rewards. What's that from the? Yeah, the Papan scholarship. One of our STEP students got that
that's
award.
great.
So yeah,
That's
so there are
fantastic.
all our therapeutic students who attend the therapeutic program. I should say, the one of the goals. That's why we moved them to a comprehensive campus is so that they would be able to utilize all the campus programs. So our students are part of the athletic programs. They are part of the clubs. And so I can definitely say that some of our STEP students are part of the wrestling
Great. Fantastic.
athletic program at Terra Nova, or one of them is part of the tennis or something, but they are part of the athletic program.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's really fantastic.
Can I add one more thing on that too? Just because your question kind of asks about like how we determine program capacity. So a couple of like limiting factors. One is our contract caseload caps, but we actually don't typically exceed or get near exceeding those, because we also have to factor in the program's capacity to serve the students well. And so that's why, for our therapeutic programs, we consider them sort of more like our specialized programs, and the hard cap for caseloads in our contract is 15 for those programs.
Okay, great. Good to know. Thank you so much.
Really great presentation as usual. Visually appealing and captivating as well. Did you get any help from Ms. Baca? I'm curious. No.
She helps us with her inspiration every day. And you're about to see her slideshow, I think. And I'm sure it will just be a masterpiece. So
Yeah, no, this was so informative. And I think because Mr. Lee and I have been here a long time now, and just, God, what the two of you have been able to build, it's just been phenomenal. And I just love how you work so well together. And I think I'm probably pretty sure you touch every aspect of anything having to do in this department. So what's your experience? You said that it's going to be growing with more students. So is that something that you're seeing when you visit the feeder schools, the feeder districts? And are you seeing that most of them are wanting to come to JUHSD, or they might be looking for private placement?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll say both. Because our district, I know for this presentation, we discussed mostly for our therapeutic programs, because that's what we wanted to highlight. But we are also seeing trend for our other specialized programs, like our life skills program is also growing. And so all our specialized programs, as well as our I guess, mild, moderate population is also growing, but especially for our specialized programs, both therapeutic and our life skills are really growing, just based on our conversation with our feeder districts. Yeah.
and your question, Rosie, was also,
Are you seeing, like, I noticed that you've been able to bring more students into the JUHSD instead of privately placing them. And you're able to convey that to the parents that they can do it here.
yeah, having consistent staffing and like being able to say we have a BCBA on staff, behavior technician in the class, that really helps parents to feel, okay, maybe you can meet my students' needs in the district program.
Yeah, because I would imagine, if they have a student that they've always had to heavily advocate for to make sure that they're properly served. The one thing I noticed is that if we feel we cannot serve them, we're very honest about it.
Yeah, and the IEP team ultimately makes the decision about placement. So, that's meant to be a process that ensures the student is well supported wherever they're placed.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then when I'm looking at the continuum of special education placement options, the spectrum there, where does co-teaching fit into that?
You want me to jump in?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, co-teaching, so special education, we always say, is a service and not a place. And the service can be provided in the general education class, and sometimes we want to do that because that allows the student to be in the least restrictive environment. And co-teaching is one way that we can do that. So it's more like push-in support. So it's further to the left on that spectrum. Students' setting is the general ed setting, and they're also getting the support of, it could be a paraprofessional pushing in, or in your example, co-teaching. So that's a way for us to kind of reduce the number of self-contained classes that students need by making those general education classes as accessible as possible. But yeah, so it's a really useful tool for supporting the least restrictive environment.
Great. Thank you. And then let's see. I'm sorry. I was the timeline non-compliance review. I mean, we remember when it was really bad, really, really bad. And here, you're off by a day and, you're non-compliant. But I mean, you said that other high school districts are facing the same thing. And just how bad is it?
For us?
For us.
Oh, for us.
I don't know that I could say it. I mean, it's either you're compliant or non-compliant. And, the majority of districts, when I looked at the data, it was non-compliant. I'm not sure a relative, but, we definitely have like a good half dozen to a dozen late IEPs per year.
But they're just late. It's not that it's not completed. It's just not within their timeline.
For the most part, yes.
Yeah, and
yeah,
I'm guessing, probably pretty good at not being overly late.
that's the goal
Yeah.
for sure. And that's why, we have a program specialist who really helps to support new case managers to stay organized. We've asked that she meet with them regularly and plan out, the schedule for the IEPs. And really, what we could also say is there's hundreds of IEPs held on time when teachers are extremely busy. We could flip the script. And I just
yeah.
also want to shout out our amazing case managers who, they're lesson planning, they're co-teaching, they're helping with any number of things throughout the day, not supervising formally, but providing direction to paraprofessionals. And then on top of that, they've got to wrangle, 5 to 10 people for an IEP meeting on a certain date.
Wow.
So it is a tall order. The logistics of scheduling even one IEP, can take a good chunk of time.
And it's constant all year.
Right.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I think you're all doing such a great job, and it's a heavy lift, and I'm so grateful for you, both of you, for leading us. And of course, we support you as best as we can, giving you all the support that we can. And our executive cabinet champions for you, for all of every department in our district. But I just, thank you for bringing this to us this time, at this time. And I just want to thank you again for doing such a great job for us.
We appreciate all of you as well. We feel supported by the district. So,
Good.
yeah.
Thanks for your presentation. I think I only have one question. And would it be correct to refer to it as one step program, or kind of step program executed here and step program executed here? Like, do they share any leadership from the school sites? Yeah, that's my question.
Just so the question is, are there any staff who are supporting both programs, or how much of an umbrella do they fall under?
Yeah. Is there overlap? How much? And at what level?
Okay. Yeah, so the clinical supervisor, she's meeting with the therapist that's dedicated to Westmore and the therapist that's dedicated to Terra Nova regularly. And so that's a common thread. We're trying to create more common threads. The teachers definitely want to collaborate with each other more. They want to share curriculum resources. They want to meet to talk about how they're structuring their classrooms. Up until last year, the Terra Nova program was a partnership with BHRS, County Mental Health. And so they were very, separate, and now we're working to try to make them less separate. And so just looking for opportunities to create common threads. We want for families to know that both programs, the one in Daly City and the one in Pacifica, can meet students' needs. And so, having them both have that same name, a very positive name, and then having a common clinical supervisor. And then now looking at referrals, they'll go to me and Grace and our lead psychologist and our clinical supervisor to kind of jointly look at, okay, are there any nuances between Terra Nova or Westmore where one site might, be a particularly better fit for a student? But of course, a big factor would be just location and distance from students' home. But Westmore has a block schedule. Terra Nova has 57-minute periods. So there's some differences that we would, of course, look at if we wanted to get more granular for a particular student. But the therapists and teachers are dedicated to their own site.
Got it. Thank you.
And also just to add, also it's just for the but the main thing that we also really look at when we're looking at the therapeutic setting is that the main thing that we're looking when we're referring to students now is that the primary disability now is that we're very consistent that one of the primary disability would be emotional disability, so that we could really focus on the therapeutic setting for the needs for the students. Yeah.
Thank you. I will tell a quick story. About a year ago, I met with a friend that I know from home, and she is a paraeducator. I guess she's classified. And as everyone knows, there is no class without classified. And she's doing some advanced study. She wants to be, an educational leader. So she's asking me about my work with the board, and I'm talking about the structure of the board. I talked about CSBA training, our different schools, general stuff. And then because I think that it's a little bit of a coincidence that, she's a special education parent and now she's looking to be a special education leader. Or I think it began as a coincidence, but since then, all this work she's done, she wants to apply to many people. She started asking me about special education. And I rambled on about least restrictive environment, co-teaching, inclusion. I talked about the adult transition program. I talked about students being involved in art. I talked about an equity lens. I talked about, class placements. I talked about transportation. And she was like, wow, you know so much about special education. And I said, I think that has to do with, the district's priorities and just the way I've been involved with the board and working with our special education directors. And so my friend congratulates you on your priorities and leadership and the execution by your staff. But I really want to give you credit for that because I learned it all in the few times that we come together and asking questions. So not only for making me look good, but for taking care of our kids. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that great presentation and your great work.
All right. Well, thank you all so much. Or do you want to close this out, Grace? Start.
Well, thank you all for your support, and always when Lee and I come in on the table, and of course for superintendent and deputy superintendents and associate superintendents, thank you all for always supporting the special ed department. I know sometimes it's not always black and white for us, but you're always there to always guide us and always there to support us. But Lee and I will not be here to support our students and our staff who are always there for all of us too. But with all of us, thank you. And we are really grateful for all of you.
Well, we don't have an audience, but switching tabs.
You don't want to stay for the budget and the LCAP? I'm joking. Joking.
Nice save.
Good night.
15A2 is a public hearing regarding the 2026-27 Local Control and Accountability Plan. Should I be opening?
Have Ms. Balk introduce. Just.
Thank you. First, Ms. Baca will give us a few words and talk about what I will open the public hearing on.
All right.
Thank you.
Good evening, President Walker. Good evening, members of the board. Tonight, I'm presenting my favorite presentation of the year, LCAP. And I'm using the district template created by Ms. Shreve. So that is our brand template that I would like to introduce. All right, so tonight I'm presenting the 26-27 Local Control and Accountability Plan, or LCAP for short. And this is for public hearing. So the public hearing is an important part of the LCAP development process, providing an opportunity for transparency, public input, and community engagement before the plan is brought back to you next week for adoption. So this evening, I will be focusing on primarily on key revisions, new actions, and changes from last year's plan as we enter the third year of our current 3-year LCAP cycle. So the LCAP is our 3-year strategic plan that outlines the goals, actions, services, and investments designed to support student success. It also tells the story of how and why we allocate resources to meet local needs, with a particular focus on supporting our English learners, foster youth, and students from low-income backgrounds. So this year is the third and final year of the LCAP cycle. So our focus is on evaluating what is working, refining our strategies, and identifying any adjustments needed to move forward. This slide also has links to the full LCAP. I believe there's about 167 pages of them, and a summarized version for anyone interested in exploring the plan in greater detail. So the first LCAP goal focuses on equity. While equity is identified here as a standalone goal, it really serves as the foundation for all of our work. It helps ensure that every student, and especially those who have been historically underserved, has access to the opportunities, resources, and support they need to be successful. This goal also brings the board's equity policy to life by translating our commitment to equitable outcomes into specific actions, service, and funding that helps remove barriers and expand opportunities for students. So on the upper right-hand side of the slide, you'll see the summary of the key actions and strategies that support this goal. The items highlighted in orange represent revisions for the 26-27 school year, and you will see the same structure throughout the rest of the presentation. So the first revision is the change in funding source for our partnership with the National Equity Project. And rather than using grant funds, we are proposing to use Title I funds. This shift reflects the strong alignment between the work of the National Equity Project and the purpose of Title I, which is improving outcomes for students who face the greatest barriers to success. Through this partnership, we continue to build staff and leadership capacity, strengthen instructional practices, elevate student voice, and create learning environments where all students can thrive. The second revision is a small allocation to support student equity teams at each of the school sites. So these funds can be used for materials, supplies, and other resources that help support student participation and engagement. And the third revision is a reduction in funding for our partnership with community responsive education. And while the level of support will be reduced, we will continue our efforts to strengthen and sustain ethnic studies implementation across the district with the help of our teacher on special assignment, Dan Arzaga. The second goal focuses on climate and wellness, and all the actions remain the same except for an increase in FTE or full-time equivalent allocation for our counselor on special assignment. This person will help lead our implementation of our Medi-Cal billing. So this work involves establishing the systems, procedures, documentation, and staff training needed for the district to receive reimbursement for eligible health and mental health services provided to students. This is important because it allows us to leverage available state and federal resources to strengthen the long-term sustainability of our wellness services and potentially expand supports for students without relying solely on district funds. The third goal focuses on teaching and learning. So there are several revisions within this goal. First, we are scaling back the universal design for learning professional development provided through LessonCast as we continue to build internal capacity around UDL practices. Second, we have added a new action focused on media literacy and digital citizenship. So our district librarian will provide digital citizenship lessons to our 9th grade students to help them navigate online spaces responsibly, evaluate information critically, and use technology safely and effectively. There is also a reduction in the allocation for our social science teacher on special assignment, reflecting adjustments to the level of support needed in that area. In mathematics, we are piloting illustrative math, a curriculum aligned to the California Mathematics Framework. To support implementation, we have allocated additional funds at each comprehensive high school to provide teacher support, collaboration time, and implementation assistance. And finally, instructional coaching remains a significant investment. And while the allocation was slightly reduced from 3.8 to 3.6 FTE, coaching continues to be one of our primary strategies for improving teaching and learning across all school sites. The fourth goal is on college and career readiness. So many of the revisions in this goal are related to changes in funding source as the A through G grant is scheduled to expire. Our goal is to sustain these programs and services that are having a positive impact on students while identifying alternative funding sources. One revision is the addition of goal setting as a required lesson within the californiacolleges.edu. The recommendation came from our district advisory committee, which felt that the goal setting is an important skill for all students. By helping students think about their future plans and set meaningful goals, we can better support them in making connections between their education, career interests, and post-secondary options. Another revision is the reduction in the summer school budget. Over the past several years, we have expanded opportunities for students to recover credits during the regular school day. So as a result, fewer students need summer school for credit recovery, allowing us to reduce budget while still maintaining access to summer learning opportunities. And lastly, we have allocated a 0.6 FTE for a teacher on special assignment to support Thornton High School in designing its project-based learning apprenticeship program. The goal is to provide students with more relevant and engaging learning experience that connect classroom learning to real-world applications while also expanding opportunities for work-based learning and career exploration. The fifth goal focuses on our English language development program. The first revision is a reduction in staffing for the Bridge program due to a lower newcomer enrollment this year. However, we are maintaining a portion of that allocation to ensure the program remains available for students who may still benefit from this support. The second revision is the redesign of our course for long-term English learners. Long-term English learners are students who have been classified as English learners for 7 or more years and have not yet been reclassified as fluent English proficient. This redesign was informed by a cycle of inquiry modeled after the National Equity Project framework that included listening directly to students about their experiences and needs. What we heard was that students wanted a course that not only supported language development, but also helped them build skills needed for success in school and beyond, while fostering a stronger sense of belonging and connection to their school community. So as a result, the redesigned course will incorporate AVID-like strategies that includes goal setting, organization, academic discussions, college and career exploration, and self-advocacy. The goal is to strengthen English language proficiency and increase college and career readiness, and also help students feel connected, valued, supported as members of their school community. Goal number 6 is on special education. So the first revision is the addition of a second board certified behavior analyst, or BCBA. As a student, behavioral and social emotional needs have increased, and so has the demand for assessments, behavior intervention plans, staff training, and consultation. So adding a BCBA will allow us to provide more timely support to students, staff, and strengthen implementation of behavior plans. The second revision is the addition of a pilot reading intervention support section for students with IEP who need extra help with foundational reading skills, particularly phonics and reading fluency. The goal is to provide targeted reading support that strengthen literacy skills, improve access to classroom learning, and help students be more successful across all subjects. And the 7th goal focuses on school operations, and there are only few revisions this year for this goal. The first revision is with the student voice action, where the word engagement replaced the word participation. This change reflects our desire only to provide opportunities for students not to only get involved, but also to ensure that they feel connected, they are valued, and that they are heard within their school community. The second revision is the addition of a peer buddy program. So the idea emerged from our feedback from our district advisory committee, which expressed interest in creating opportunities for older students to support incoming 9th graders. The goal is to help students build connections successfully, navigate the transition to high school, and develop a stronger sense of belonging. And lastly, this slide provides an overview of the district's projected revenue for the 26-27 school year. So the district is projected to receive approximately $94.2 million in total revenue. About 76% of that revenue is associated with the local control funding formula. One important thing to note is that JUHSD is a community-funded district, which means the majority of our revenue comes from local property taxes rather than states-based LCFF funding. However, the district is still subjected to LCFF requirements and receives funding associated with serving our English learners, foster youth, and low-income students. And so our LCAP includes approximately $4.6 million in actions and services that are principally directed towards improving outcomes for these unduplicated student groups. These investments include support such as mental health services, instructional coaching, supports for our English learner programs, tutoring, family engagement, and targeted site-based supports. So overall, these investments reflect our commitment to ensuring that our students who face the greatest barriers to success receive the additional support that they need to thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone on the board have questions?
I have to get used to all of the acronyms. So thank you for this presentation. I just wanted to point out 2 things that I really liked, especially, which was how you're really responding to the needs and adjusting things, and by using the librarian to help the incoming 9th graders learn how to be a little bit more responsible online. I really like that, because really the librarian to me always knew everything about any subject. Back in those days, we had the card catalog. So, you know, it was just a little different. But I also like the peer buddy program because that's also significant for like a ninth grader. I just like the support for the ninth graders to get them off on a good foot. And I remember back in 19 something, I had a senior when I came in to the school, and that really helped because, you know, you go from being the top of the food chain as the eighth graders, then right back down to 0 2 months later, you know, when summer's over. So I really appreciate those two new things. So thank you.
Thank you. A lot of how we tweak our LCAP is really based on feedback and conversations from students and staff, and we're trying to be really responsive to the needs.
Hi, Creed.
Hi.
My brain's buzzing. It always does after these kind of things, especially when you're presenting with all this data and information. But thank you for the presentation and putting it together and making it, you know, as concise as you can. It's pretty dense and it's, you know, kind of compact. So it's a lot to kind of take in real quick like that. But it's nice to see that we have like these really great goals kind of lined out in front of us. I do have a couple questions. One was I wanted to just kind of understand the mental health counselor and special assignment FTE ad real quick. It's just kind of you kind of touched on how that person's going to start with the Medi-Cal billing to kind of help us, I guess, get some money out of some of that stuff. And I want to understand that a little bit better.
And so right now we do have her name is Michelle Fortunato Kewen, and she is helping with our intern program. So that has been her main role for this year and the previous year. And recently we found that we can receive and bill Medi-Cal for services. And so to get that started, it's a long process where we really need to figure out how these things work. How do we bill? What system do we have to put in place? Provide training for staff. And so what we can really do is log those hours, and based on those hours, we can bill Medi-Cal directly, so we would get some money back.
Okay. And this is going to be just a one-time like FTE for the next, is it, how long does it last?
Right now, it's currently one time. I think she's committed only for 1 year to get us started.
Okay. And then get the ball rolling basically, and then we take it from there.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And then the other one was just a curiosity, a wandering, as some would say. What is illustrative math?
So illustrative.
It's changing again.
Yeah. So illustrative math is our new curriculum for mathematics, new textbook. And it's essentially a lot more hands-on, and students, it's not the traditional kind of math that we've been learning. So it's a lot more project-based and explain how you got to this answer, and it's a lot more collaborative. And so it's, you know, it's a shift in how we teach math. So next year we are piloting just for our math course 1 students, and we have, you know, we have identified teachers that would be able to help support the teachers piloting the curriculum at each one of their school site. Instead of having one here up in the district, we will have, you know, some sections at the school site to help those teachers really learn and have discussion on like, how can we really improve our instruction to support this new shift.
Okay.
Can I add something? Elementary and middle schools have been doing this for a long time, actually, too. So I think it's going to be really good for, our students when they come in 9th grade. It will feel very familiar to them.
I just think one of these days, as a nation, as a country, we'll all get on the same page with math. And so I'm telling you, I've had 3 kids, all different ages, go through school, and I've never seen math the same.
Yeah. Right.
And it's changing again. So it's just another, oh, what is that kind of thing. So anyway, that's just me fussing as a parent. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great presentation. I don't have too many questions since, again, we had the work study a couple months, or just last month or almost 2 months ago. Anyway, on LCAP Goal 7, the Peer Buddy program, is that in addition to the linked program that some of the students already, some of the schools are doing, or?
We'll probably build on what the structures each of the sites have already. I know we have the Link Crew program at Jefferson, Westmore, and Terra Nova. So I'll be speaking with probably, Ms. Doris also and see how we can implement that at the, at Oceana, but we will be building from that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Once again, just good presentation. I just have to say it's always great seeing how we build the LCAP, that goals 1 and 2 are related to equity and mental wellness before we even get to academics, because without those first 2 things, the rest doesn't matter.
Right. Thank you again for this great presentation. The branding's beautiful. I love it. Wow, wow. Now we all have to use it. And it's like I said, we had the study session, but I think everything about this is so thoughtful, even down to just simple words. Changing it from participation to engagement. That makes a big difference. And then also just changing the name of the Students Organized Against Racism to Student Equity Team. I mean, because it's all encompassing. This is such an inclusive LCAP. And it's easy to follow. You always provide, the funding source. That's so helpful. And then the special notes too. Do other districts have less goals, or goals, the number of goals? Yeah, because I think, we expect a lot of ourselves, and I love that you and we are always pushing to be better. And I think it really shows in the commitment, and we don't have a lot of money, but we find ways to make it happen. And we have the best CBO ever. Nobody better be watching this and trying anything funny with her. I just want to thank you for all, throughout the year, doing all the listening sessions, going to the sites and talking to people and talking to our students and getting our student advisory councils input. The district advisory group, that was, how many times did they meet this year?
This year, just twice.
Okay, but they're pretty lengthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we get a good representation. Fantastic. Okay, thank you very much.
Well, our goals, we kind of have a lot of goals
Yeah.
compared to other districts, but it's really comprehensive because pretty much everything that we do is here. So
Yeah.
it's quite transparent.
Yeah, it's a lot of goals, but it's not like they're brand new. These are things that we've built on and are expanding, and that, it's already happening, a lot of them. And we're just improving continually. And because our district is evolving along with us. We're very committed to equity, and it's not just a buzzword with us. It's who we are. So I just want to thank you again for this.
Thank you.
Thank you. As a parent of a young man from the district who's just finished his freshman year and is not listening, I think that this buddy program is fantastic. And I wonder, does it share anything does it share goals? Does it share design with what I know as the Link Crew program?
It probably will. If we don't exactly know what this would look like, it was, an idea brought forth. So the next step would be having conversations with our principals and our Link Crew folks and see how can we make this happen.
Okay, thanks. That's my only question. And I just want to say that this LCAP goal number 2, which comes before the reading, writing, and arithmetic of climate and wellness, makes me think the first thing I did when I became a board member was to go off to CSBA before I got sworn in and listen to a keynote speaker talk about how, paraphrasing, his success in education leadership was all about the best ways he could show the students that he loved them. And that's what I'm thinking about right now. And thank you for reminding me. Every 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Baca.
You're welcome.
I'm going to open the public hearing regarding item 15A1. 15A1, that's right.
A2.
It's A2. Thank you. Seeing no public comment, I'm going to close the public hearing for item 15A2. We're going to move on to 15B. I am going to open the public hearing for item 15B1.
No, we're not. We're not opening the public hearing yet.
I just opened the public hearing. Seeing no public comment, I'm going to close the public hearing for item 15B1. Ms. Van Raphorst.
Thank you, President Walker. Good evening, trustees. Before I begin, I just want to also say how wonderful Ms. Baca's LCAP is. I wish there were state awards for the best LCAP because I really think we would win. It's phenomenal compared to the other districts. Good. Okay, so tonight I present to you the proposed budget for the 26-27 school year. This item is for discussion and public hearing, which we already held, and it will come back on June 9th for board approval. You have the full report in your packet, and it aligns with the LCAP that Ms. Baca just presented. So I will not go over the whole 138-page report, but I will point out some key components. I'll start by going over the components of the governor's latest state budget proposal, then our JUHSD proposed budget, the assumptions behind it, the multi-year outlook, and what comes next. The governor's May revision is the last set of data that we receive before we must put forward our budget. We'll need to adopt our budget before we have final numbers from the state. This year, the governor's proposal relies on the fact that state funding, state revenues are coming in stronger than anticipated, and inflation remains steady. The governor's office is projecting that the statutory cost of living adjustment, or COLA, will be 2.87%. This is the amount the state will be required to raise the local control funding formula by. The governor proposes an additional 1.44% to the LCFF. They call this the super COLA usually. It's important to note, however, that this additional allocation is accompanied by a proposal to increase costs to schools by adding a new 14-week fully paid pregnancy disability leave. Previously, employees with this type of disability would need to use their sick leave and rely on 50% extended disability leave. So this enhanced COLA, the 4.31% COLA, is intended to help districts cover that cost. As a community-funded district, however, we will not receive that COLA, and we will still need to comply with any new leave laws. The third box on this slide references Proposition 98. Prop 98 sets the minimum amount the state must allocate to schools by law. Similarly to this year, the governor is proposing to under-allocate Prop 98. For this budget, he's proposed an under-allocation of $3.9 billion. In addition to the LCFF formula, the governor proposes spending Prop $98 to provide a 2.87% increase to categorical programs like CTE and an even more significant increase to special education and universal meals. Lastly, the governor's proposal includes a healthy deposit into the Prop 98 rainy day fund. All right. This slide outlines revenue highlights for 26-27 for the JUHSD budget. We are assuming that we will see an increase of 5% in tax revenue, which is similar to the current year. For federal funding, which is a small amount of our budget, there's a fraction of this that is still uncertain, but we have learned that the bulk of the funding will continue, but with no COLA. And as mentioned, the state's special education allocation will be increased significantly. For JUHSD, it will be about $1 million more than the current year. And then lastly, our local funding is projected to slightly decrease for 26-27 due to the end of some grant funding, but then increase with the anticipated passage of new parcel tax funds in November 2026. This slide shows the assumptions that were used to create our multi-year projection. Our student enrollment is projected to continue to have slight decreases each year. The COLA is projected to be a bit less than the CPI number that we use for inflation for determining the costs of our supplies and services. And the retirement costs are projected to have very little change, which is better than previous years, where it was going up dramatically. Here are some of the other assumptions. For employee compensation, we are assuming that the board will approve the tentative agreement with AFT for 5% total compensation increase for 26-27, but the assumptions show no further increases in the subsequent years. Additionally, the proposed budget assumes passage of an increased parcel tax in November, 5% tax revenue increases each year, and a $600,000 reduction in supplies and services spending in 27-28. If any of these fail to materialize, we might need to make additional cuts. Before actually looking at the multi-year outlook, I want to take a moment to review the district's board policy on reserves. As a community-funded district, our funding is less predictable than state-funded districts, which makes our reserve levels more important. Our board policy sets the goal of reaching 10% reserves in the budget year, 8% for the first subsequent year, and 6% for the third year out. The state only requires 3% reserves in each of those years. With the proposed budget, we anticipate reaching only 9.82% reserves in 26-27 instead of the 10% goal, and only 7.24% in 27-28 instead of the 8% goal, but we will be over the 6% goal in 28-29. So here are the projected multi-year numbers. You can see that the actuals for this current year are projected with just under 92 million in revenue and about 94.7 million in expenditures, with a projected deficit of 3.7 million. So that's the current year. Next year, the projection is to have a deficit of about 6.5 million, and our expenditures cross the $100 million mark. Then in subsequent years, we have lower but continuing deficit. So this slide shows graphically how our projected revenue and expenditures compare to each other, showing that with our current assumptions, the deficit is most negative in 26-27. So the bars, the blue is the revenue, the gold is the expenditures, and the line with the dots shows the deficit. So like I said, the most negative deficit is in the coming year, 26-27. And then you can see that by the third year out, 28-29, we have nearly a balanced budget. You can also see that the reserves are projected to drop by 9.7 million across all the years. The ending fund balance for 26-27 is projected to be nearly $12 million, and it's broken down as follows. 3.9 million restricted funds, 3 million representing the 3% statutory reserve, 5 million, which is our 5% strategic reserve, and just about $3,000 remaining after that. Additionally, we will have about 1.8 million or 1.82% in the Special Reserve Fund 17. For 2026-27, we anticipate that the non-general fund programs will all have positive ending balances. Most notably, our food services and our adult education program are projected to have deficit spending in the current year, but with the recent staffing reductions, should break even in the coming year. And that brings us to the end of this presentation. For next steps, the budget will come back for formal approval at our next meeting. The state will then adopt their formal budget, and we will close our books on the current year. You'll see the results of this in September, and then the 26-27 first interim report will be presented in December. Additionally, in order to explore cost-saving measures for implementation in 27-28, I am recommending that we form a budget committee in the fall. Now, I'm happy to hear any discussion or questions.
I'll start. I don't know how you do this, but I'm so glad that you are doing it. It's just laid out so nicely, and because it's becoming repetitive to me, it's so thank you for all the steps before today with preparing us for these numbers and just keeping everything. Just thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great presentation as always, Tina, and I think you deserve just as many kudos as you were given to Ms. Baca for, how well you keep this all together and present it for us in ways that we could understand it better. I think the idea of the budget committee is really cool, though. I think that kind of take a lot off your plate trying to figure that out yourself, too. I think a committee would be good for that. I don't have any questions. I know we just went over all this stuff with you guys pretty recently. So I just want to thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
So Ms. Van Rapport, with regards to the budget committee, do you anticipate the makeup to be similar from previous years? Might just be helpful to just describe it since we do have.
Sure. So we have had a budget committee approximately every 3 years since I've been on board. And historically, we have simply opened it up to anybody who wants to participate. We've invited parents, students, staff members, of course. We've paid staff members to participate, and it's been 4 or 5 sessions after school over the course of, we try to get it finished by December or January so that there's time to implement the recommendations for the coming year. So it could be 1 or 2 meetings a month for a total of 4 or 5 meetings. And historically, we've had, maybe about 15 to 20 people participate, so pretty good.
Great. Thank you very much. I don't really have anything else. I think I just want to, even though we are a community funded district, I think it is important for us to continue to advocate to make sure that the Prop 98 withholding does not occur, because that does impact our feeder districts in particular. Because that amounts to $643 per kid. And I think for the Pacific School District, I think that number is around $2 million. Talking to school board members in San Francisco, that's about $30 million for them. So it's pretty significant. And especially since we don't know exactly when the money will come to us. Yeah. So I think it's important that we continue our advocacy to make sure that this does not happen.
Thank you for that. I agree.
I just want to thank you again for making this presentation very accessible so that anyone who wants to look it up online, it's so easy to follow. And it's, just very thoughtful. I don't have any other comments except that it's great work, and thank you for making us, for me, it's always a reminder of how precarious things can be, and that you look at every scenario and people are saying, you've got all this reserve. Well, it's, we're conservative for a reason. We don't get a lot of money. So, but this is, thank you for always keeping us keeping us updated on the budget and anything that's coming down the pipe too. So that we're not totally surprised.
Right.
Thank you very much. My understanding of the budget comes through your presentations to us, possibly majority through Excel spreadsheets. And I was like, how did she do it? And I thought about two things. One is I worked with a man who told me that Microsoft Excel is the greatest piece of user software ever. And I experienced with my mother, who might be better than I am at math, asking me how to do a formula in Microsoft Excel. Basic arithmetic stuff. But I said, if you can talk me through what you want in your formula, then you can write it. And I think it is only because you can talk me through any piece of the budget that you can make complete spreadsheets with multiple tabs that make sense, that you can manipulate on the fly to get me to understand the budget. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just tell you a quick story, is that it was the year after I wrote my first LCAP that I decided that I wanted to become a CBO and not stay in ed services.
That is crazy, because I wrote a few LCAPs and I wouldn't have gone in the mathematical direction, actually. I was just going to say thank you very much, but I wanted to add on to what President Walker said, because your use of the Excel spreadsheet, which I am not like it is all sort of magic to me, what you do, the way that you are able to walk all of us through, like we have conceptual conversations and then you go and implement it and have different tabs so that we can try different things. And, it makes my job as a superintendent so much easier because of your capacity to do that and explain it. So thank you. But thank you very much.
Can we take a short recess?
Yes.
Let's take a short recess. Are we still on YouTube during?
anyway.
Uh, Item, I feel like I'm looking at the wrong thing here.
15B.
16B2. 15B2. Thank you. 15B2 is a public hearing and action item. The Jefferson Union High School District Teamsters 856 contract negotiations proposals.
It's only a public hearing.
Wow, I'm gonna have to say all that again. 15B2 is a public hearing regarding 2026-2027 reserves in excess of the state minimum level. Ms. Van Raphorst.
Thank you, President Walker. This item allows a chance for the public to provide comments on the district reserve levels. The minimum reserve allowable for our district is 3%. And as previously mentioned, we have current reserves that exceed that minimum. This is not an action item, but is a required public hearing item.
Should we hear from the board first? Anyone from the board?
No comment.
Let's open a public hearing. Seeing no public comment, I will close the public hearing. We move on. 16A1. A resolution 2025-2026, number 17, the Education Protection Account. Ms. Van Raphorst.
Thank you. I would like to recommend approval of this resolution, which acknowledges the district will spend Prop 30 Education Protection Account funds on teacher salaries in accordance with the legislation.
Discussion.
None. I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-2026/17 Education Protection Account.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 16A2, Resolution 2025-2026-18, budgetary increases and transfers at year end. Ms. Van Raphorst.
Thank you. As we close the books on 25-26, there may be expenditures that could exceed what was budgeted in each line item of the last board approved budget. This resolution will allow the county superintendent to adjust the budget to cover the expenditures.
Any discussion?
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-2026/18 budgetary increases and transfers at year end.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 16A3, Resolution 2025-26-19, ordering an election on the question of levying an education parcel tax for November 2026. Ms. Van Raphorst.
Thank you. The district currently has a $58 parcel tax that will be expiring in 2028. This item that I have for you this evening is to consider whether or not to place a parcel tax measure on November 2026 election to backfill this expiring parcel tax at the rate of $98 per parcel. But before adopting the proposed resolution, we must open the floor to public hearing, then the board may vote on the resolution. Mr. Joe Crump from Dale Scott's office is here to answer any questions you might have.
By opening now? Are we discussing first or are we opening first?
I don't really have any questions at all. I remember we had the presentation a few months back that showed that the data was pretty strong in favor as long as we stayed beneath a 3-digit number. So I feel pretty good about where we're at.
So you just need to have the public hearing anytime before the motion.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you for coming. I'm sorry we don't have a lot of questions for you. Let's open a public hearing. Seeing no public comment, I will close the public hearing and we can look for some action.
Move to approve resolution 2025-2026/19 for the election on the question of levying an education parcel tax for November 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. This 16A4, the public disclosure of proposed bargaining agreement with American Federation of Teachers Local 1481, Ms. Van Raphorst.
Thank you, President Walker. Later on the agenda, Ms. Baswino will be asking the board to approve a tentative agreement with AFT. This agreement includes salary increases. AB 1200 stipulates that prior to approving any collective bargaining agreement that increases costs to the district, the board must adopt a public disclosure that outlines the impact to the budget. This public disclosure document that's before you is based on the most recent approved budget, which was adopted in March as the second interim report, and it includes the impact of the proposed tentative agreement. It shows that the district can meet the projected cost for the fiscal year and subsequent 2 years. As noted in the document, the district will use reserves to cover the increased costs. This document has been reviewed and affirmed by business staff at the San Mateo County Office of Education. So with that, I would like to recommend that the board approve the public disclosure as presented.
Motion to approve?
Second.
I wasn't done.
Oh, sorry.
Come on, Andy.
Hey.
Motion to approve public disclosure of proposed bargaining agreement with American Federation of Teachers Local 1481.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Ms. Van Raphorst. 16B1.
16A5, we need to bring back the board calendar. We moved it from the consent agenda to 16A5. It was 13A1 on consent, and we moved it to 16A5.
Maybe you guys should have somebody else do this. Holy smokes.
It was just the board calendar.
Just a little scrolling. All right. 16A5 is the approval of the amended JUHSD 2627 Board of Education governance calendar. Is Presta?
Thank you. Thank you. So we put the board calendar, the amended board calendar on consent. We added a site board meeting for Youth Point Health. And so it was on consent. And then there was a call by some trustees who noticed that we have a regularly scheduled board meeting on November 3rd of 2026, which is election night. So wanted to open it up for thoughts or discussion about maybe amending this amended calendar for approval tonight.
Well, I'd like to cancel the November 3rd meeting. And also I believe that we have a November 7th meeting on calendar for that Saturday.
Right. And
So I thought that, it would make sense to cancel that as well, since we don't have it reserved for anything in particular. And we still have a meeting later in the month.
right. Great. So make that
I concur.
Make that
Concur with
motion?
change. Yep.
okay. To approve with the deleting of November 3rd and November 7th. Okay. So that amended calendar.
So moved with those changes.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor of approving the in-meeting amendment to the amended calendar?
Yes,
Yes.
you got it.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. How about 16B1 now?
Lorraine's going to take
Um,
Dina's sick.
Okay, 16B1 is 2026, 27, 2027, 28, 2028, 29, and 2029, 2030 adult school calendars.
Good evening. The first item for your consideration is the adult school calendars for 26, 27, 27, 28, 28, 29, and 29, 30 school years. These calendars are only applicable to adult programs such as the high school equivalency courses. I welcome any questions.
I don't recall doing this before. Is this a regular event?
Yes, well, it's every so many years, yes.
Sounds good. So maybe in,
Could be a while before we do it again.
thank you.
Move to approve these 4 calendars.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. 16B2, which I've been trying to get to for a while, but we got this whole following procedure thing that we have to do. I tried. This is a public hearing in action. Jefferson Union High School District. Teamsters 856 contract negotiation proposals for the 2026-2027 school year. Ms. Pasquino?
Correct. This next item for your consideration is the opener letters for Teamsters 856 and the district in preparation for negotiations. Both parties are only opening salary and benefits for this cycle of negotiations. We are looking forward to the negotiations.
Any discussions or action?
Yeah.
Is there really? Look, it says public hearing right at the beginning. Let's open a public hearing. Seeing no public comment, let's close the public hearing. Discussion? Action?
Move to approve the, to open, I guess, what's the proper, adopt the initial proposal for the Teamsters and 856 contract negotiations proposals for 26, 27.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And in the spirit of negotiations, 16B3 is the approval of a tentative agreement with the American Federation of Teachers Local 1481. Ms. Pasquino?
The tentative agreement between AFT 1481 and the district, which was approved by 97.1% of the members who voted. The tentative agreement includes a salary increase, increases to health and welfare contributions, and some small language updates, such as clarifying seniority considerations for extended school year paraprofessional assignments.
Thank you. I started to say to someone that maybe we should have driven a harder bargain, but really, I'm just happy that we got such a great approval rating. Anyone else? Some action?
Move to approve the tentative agreement with AFT Local 1481.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
And thank you for all your hard work on that.
Very good.
Appreciate that.
Very good.
16B4, a declaration of need for fully qualified educators, 2026-2027. Ms. Pasquino?
The declaration of need is a document that is approved annually by the board. The document outlines key priority areas for hiring, such as special education and world languages. Approval of the document enables the district to hire candidates on waivers and intern credentials when there are no qualified applicants.
Any discussion? Some action?
Move to approve the declaration of need for fully qualified educators 26, 27.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Item 17. Seeing none.
Oh, I do have an item for a future agenda. I would propose that at our next meeting, which is next Tuesday, that we the resolution on to support the CSBA's SOS for student achievement for the 4-bill package that we heard from the public comment earlier. That way we can transmit the approved resolution to CSBA for inclusion when that bill package goes to the Senate.
Nice job. Thank you. Item 18.
Move to adjourn.
No, read it.
Oh, it's there.
I think we have to vote
Oh, I
to
didn't see
adjourn
that.
first.
No.
No, there was adjournment.
I have it. I have it. I have it.
Yeah.
I have it. We're not going to vote first. We adjourn tonight's meeting in memory of John Seaman, beloved husband of Ruthie Seaman, a cherished member of the Jefferson Union High School District family, both as a retired teacher and as a dedicated substitute teacher who continues to serve our students and schools with care and commitment. John passed away on April 15th, 2026, after a period of illness. By all accounts, he and Ruthie lived a life full of shared adventures, and the love and spirit they brought to their journey together was a reflection of the warmth Ruthie brings to our community each and every day. On behalf of the Jefferson Union High School District, Board of Trustees, and the entire JUHSD community, we extend our heartfelt condolences to the Seaman family and to their many friends and loved ones during this difficult time.
Our condolences.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.